There are many different types of time lapses. There are hyperlapses, there are time lapses that have panning on the X and Y axis. They even have a hybrid of hyperlapse and time lapse doing all of them at the same time. It's crazy, it's pretty fun too. But I chose to do this time lapse traditionally on a tripod, pointing directly at whatever my subject is. Reason being, as I mentioned in the previous episode, time is very limited. And so, when I get home, I had to quickly grab my tripod or get it out of the car and put my camera on and just set it up and roll. I won't have time to even put a slider up or put a rotating mount head on the tripod and things like that. So time was not on my side when it comes to producing this. But as my concept developed, this Bible verse kept reoccurring in my head. Psalms 46:10, the first sentence says, "Be still and know that I am God." And the absence of the camera movement really speak to that verse, because for me, I am hypnotized. I am not worried about anything else. I am engaged and just pulling in all of that beauty into my eyes, the graceful movement of the clouds. And so the time lapse really emphasizes that. And so I feel like if there was any other camera movement and panning, it would just became like a normal sweeping shot of a beautiful landscape or a beautiful sky. But the fact that there's a static shot right there in front of you, all you can do is look at the clouds. You don't worry about any type of movement, any other distraction. So my main camera and the only camera I own is my Nikon D750. And what's cool about this camera is that it has two versions of time lapses. It has a 1080p time lapse feature where it shoots the photographs, but then after it's done, it processes it into a video, a 1080p video. Then you have the standard intervalometer settings where you just take actual images. And so my camera is a 24 megapixel camera, so that means it has a 6K resolution. It's 6010 by 4010. So that's the resolution of each frame. So my workflow, I already knew that I wanted to do everything in 4K. So my workflow was shoot large and then downscale. So I shot it in 6K and then downscale it to 4K. So with my Nikon D750, there are two time-lapse options. There is the menu shooting option, which is the time-lapse photography mode, and then there is the normal intervalometer mode. The time-lapse photography mode allows you to take a regular time-lapse, but at the end of the time-lapse, it will create a 1080p movie file rather than it giving you all of the stills from the actual raw files that the camera creates. So this has a lot of limitations. You're stuck at 1080p, and it's highly compressed. You don't have the full capability of toning and editing those images that you capture for the time lapse in post. So this is what it looks like when you go into that menu, and it's always at the bottom. So if you always come to the shooting mode option, and if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll see time-lapse photography mode, and you click on that, and then it gives you some options for the intervalometer and the shooting mode. But I'm not going to go over it in this one, because if we go over to the other menu, it's going to have the same options. But this, like I said, in the shooting menu for the D750 for the movie mode, it will make a 1080p video after the time lapse is finished. So in the photo shooting mode, which is at the bottom of the photo shooting menu, now you can see that there are all of these different types of menus. So the first menu, you have your start stop option, and you can just choose when the camera is going to start taking a time lapse. That's very helpful. But here in the intervalometer mode, and if you don't know what intervalometer means, so in this menu you have the ability to set the hour, minute, and second. Then once you set that, you come out, and then now you can set the number of images you want to take within that certain time frame. So I always have it set to 560 frames. I got to that number because after experimenting with different intervals from 1 second to 2 seconds to 3 seconds to high as 5 seconds, 1 second gives you the quality that I was looking for, which is the slow, graceful buildup of the clouds as time moved past and as the light moved past. At every 3 seconds, the clouds will become a little bit more jumpy because a lot more time is being passed. Remember that every second that you add to your intervals, that's the time in between the shots that you take. So you're going to be losing more light depending on what time you're shooting, and more time is passing for each shot. So from my knowledge of my plan, I knew I wanted to have a slower pace, and I wanted the imagery to feel graceful and then kind of long-winded at the same time, just overkill of dramatic feeling. And so that's why I shot it at every 1 second.